facilities that make this program possible are provided by the City of Highland Park and have been made possible in part by Ravinia Festival, CJE, Senior Life, GAN Music and Sound.
And welcome to Cahnmann's Current Events Roundtable. Today we have 4 very impressive young men to analyze the Syrian situation, what's going on today. And I'd like to introduce our guests. And first of all, I want to welcome back Alan Minoff. Welcome, Alan, to the show. We've had Alan on before. He's very impressive, and he'll really tell what it should be. And I think Alan should run the country. I think he's pretty strong on his belief system. And also, Erwin Rosen, our attorney.
Hi,
thank you for coming back again.
You're welcome.
And we have 2 new guests, which is Howard Kostner, our international executive, and last but not least, Bert Oseoff, right? Oseoff. That's right, who's our businessman. And I want to welcome all of you to Cahnmann's Current Events Roundtable. And lately, this show is going to be broadcasted. It'll probably be seen next month, and probably there'll be a lot of new things that'll have come up between now and next month. But this is kind of what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be analyzing what actually happened in Syria and what our president and the new person on the block, who is the Russian leader, Putin, who has now come aboard as one of our leaders. We never thought of him as a leader before, but I guess he's now on the block. He's a new kid on the block. And one of the things that I wanted to say something that Charles Krauthammer said in his Washington Post article. He said the negotiations are open-ended, but not a word from President Obama about the deadline of the ultimatum. And also he said, Putin doesn't care one way or the other about chemical weapons, nor about dead Syrian children, nor about international norms, parchment treaties, and other niceties of the liberal imagination. All he cares about is keeping Bashar Assad in power. That's pretty powerful. So let me hear anybody that wants to talk, if you want to start speaking, a little bit about what is happening and why did Charles Krauthammer say this type of remark. Alan, Erwin, do you want to start?
Well, I would say that Putin is also concerned about keeping Putin in power. And he is playing to his domestic political base in Russia. The Russian people like the strong man, and they like Putin to be a player on the world scene, as Russia has gone from the Soviet Union to a much reduced position in the world scene. And this has enabled Putin to step in, take the lead in the face of absolutely incompetent, feckless, and disastrous diplomacy on the part of our president, Obama. So Putin was happy to step in and fill a vacuum because power vacuums are always filled. And despite the president's thought that if we don't arm a world power, everything will be fine, this is not going to be the case.
Thank you. And we could hear that Alan is a strong Republican. And I'm going to hear a little bit from my Democrat now about Obama, President Obama, excuse me, because somebody mentioned the other day we are calling him Obama and not giving him the respect of President Obama. So I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing here. I'm politically correct. So what is your viewpoint on the situation, Bert?
I believe that the president has been caught in a trick bag on this one, but it's going the way he wants it to go. And all the indications on his side are that it's exactly what he wants. He contends that his threats are what brought Assad to at least talk about negotiations. They're what brought Putin into the mix. And I think he's very happy at this point to let Putin take over the control and the negotiations and hopefully resolve the situation regarding the weapons of mass destruction. I think he would like to get out from underneath that negotiation, and I think he's effectively done that.
Howard, let me ask you, when the president said, when he talked about the red line, and I thought that he was talking about the red line, that he said the red line, now he says that the world said the red line. What was that all about?
Well, I think the president is just trying to change things around and remove his responsibility for the position we're in. We are in a very dangerous position because we're supporting some people that we don't know who they are. For example, at least when Assad is in power, we know the devil that's there. The other devils we don't know, and they may even be worse. And what Obama has done is that he predicted that we would, I actually thought that his threat would be enough to make Syria back down. Obviously, it wasn't. And by pre-warning them, they removed all the tactical things they had that could have been destroyed away. So actually, his red line was useless, and it's put us in a very bad position.
Erwin, if he would have, in fact, I just want to quote something from Ehud Barak. Ehud, is that the Israeli spelling for that? Nobody negotiates in public. That's what he said. He criticized President Barack Obama for, he says that the Israelis don't negotiate in public. They negotiate in private. Do you think this is one of the mistakes that our administration made? Should they have maybe just gone in and, like the Israelis do, just go in and take care of it and then talk about it? What is your feelings about it?
Basically, Suzanne, I would think that anybody who is going to shell someone is not going to tell them when they're going to shell them, how long the shelling is going to take, where they're going to shell them. What does that do? I mean, I'm not sure what that does, because if you're smart, you move everything that we're talking about, chemical weapons, to places that apparently can't be shelled so easily, and you hide those things. So as far as diplomacy is concerned, I think Ehud Barak said it right. You have diplomatic sessions in private. You negotiate in private. Plus, we have to remember that President Obama was not reading his teleprompter when he said, that's the red line. If they have chemical weapons, I would draw that red line. He said that in an off-the-cuff statement without reading the teleprompter, not realizing what that really did mean. Now we've gone for over a year since he said that, and all of a sudden we see the use of chemical weapons, and now the president, he's sort of in a quandary at this point, because he starts to back away now. He says, I didn't draw the red line, the world drew the red line. Okay, fine, that's good. He's backing away. Then all of a sudden he got lucky, because Kerry said in an off-the-cuff statement again that, oh, if Assad gives up his chemical weapons, then maybe we won't attack. So we're trying to get away from the attack situation now. we won't attack. And of course, as was so elegantly said by Alan, Putin came in and Putin took over the situation. Now, if we are truly a world power, who's running this place? Is it Putin running it? Or is it Obama running it? I'm not so sure who's running it right now. I would have, if I had a vote for it, I'd vote for Putin, because Putin has taken advantage of a situation where Barack Obama, our president, has shown weakness as far as I'm concerned, and not sure what he wants to do or how to do it. To me, it's we're just fading away as a world power with this leadership.
Yeah, and what messages are we giving to China and to Iran and to North Korea? I mean, we were supposedly the power. We were the person that they used to all look up to and fear. Or do they fear us anymore? Alan?
Well, Howard used the word destroyed, and I think destroyed is appropriate and applicable to the position of the United States as a world power. Because any credibility the United States may have had, it lies in tatters in the Eastern Mediterranean. And the bad guys, Iran, North Korea, they're looking at this and they say, oh, the threats that the United States, at least under the Obama regime, they don't. Those threats mean nothing. They are empty words which we need not fear. And our erstwhile allies, whether it's Japan or Israel, they also can look and say, we can't rely on the United States. We have to take our own actions. And it makes the United States a third-rate power. Nobody has to pay attention. Our credibility around the world is zero because of this. And these chickens, to use Reverend Wright's words, will come home to roost in very bad ways for the United States' interests.
Do you think Bert or Howard, do you think he was really planning on using the weapons because he went back to, remember, Barack Obama, every time he goes to Congress, he never seems to get his things passed. And he had to know beforehand that he wasn't going to get it passed. Was this just a threat? What was going on here?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about the fact that this was a weak move on his part when he backed off and said, I'm going to take it to Congress and let Congress make the decision as to what we do in terms of attacking Syria. However, I think that there's more to it than even that. Take a look at our historical allies. Great Britain backed off, France backed off, Germany backed off. All of the Western Europe allies that we have supported and financed and done everything else for have backed off and said, we don't want any part of this whole thing. And this has left him really hanging out to dry. And I think he's just spinning right now and not knowing which way to go.
Well, I think it's going to get even worse. I think there's more repercussions that are going to come from this. I think that Iran has become bolder in their demands. They're not going to allow us to inspect for nuclear development. I think North Korea is already rattling sabers, saying we have missiles that can hit the United States, and they're ready to use them. And I think that we have lost our faith. Not only lost face, we've lost our position in the world. And I think as a world power.
Now, Russia, it's interesting, Russia wants to keep the way everything is, but who's supplying arms and weapons to Iran? Who's supplying arms and weapons to Syria? And also, isn't there a naval base that is in Syria that Russia that's their naval base? It's the only naval base and the only base that they have outside of Russia. Am I correct about that?
Yes.
Warm water.
Yes.
That's the only warm water base.
water.
But the problem is that Russia has two methods of making money: selling oil to Europe and selling weapons to Iran and the other countries. And they don't want to give any of that up. So anytime we have to negotiate with Putin, those things are going to come to the forefront.
Yeah, and I think beside that, Russia has two things. Putin has two problems. Number one, the price of world oil. He needs the price of oil to be high because that's his major source of income. is his oil. The other thing is, he has a number of problems going on in Russia itself that nobody talks about.
mean
that
the
are kinda-
economy?
Yeah, among the people in Russia.
Chechnya?
Yeah, he's got the Chechnya, he's got a lot of very wealthy, all of a sudden billionaires in Russia that are demanding their equal time, and he's got a lot of things that he has to juggle in addition to try to get this thing resolved in Syria. And I don't know at this point which way he's going to jump.
You know, it's interesting because I was reading the remarks of Senator John McCain on Syria at the Council of Foreign Affairs, and he said, "I wish I could see the recent agreement between Russia and the United States to rid Assad regime of its chemical weapons as major breakthrough. Unfortunately, I cannot." And he goes on to say that the leverage we have is no longer credible, and Russia sensed this weakness and led the administration into a diplomatic blind alley. Interesting.
Well, I would contend that nobody with any sophistication and knowledge in the area of chemical weapons really believes that this agreement is going to have any effect whatsoever on Assad's chemical arsenal. First of all, Syria is in the middle of a civil war. And it is the intention to send unarmed UN peacekeepers, because even the armed UN peacekeepers, as soon as somebody slams the door in the night, they all run out there and jump on the planes and leave. But these are unarmed technical experts, and they're going to be in the middle of a civil war. They're not going to go. Secondly, the United States has been spending hundreds of millions of dollars over many, many, many years to destroy our chemical weapons in a controlled environment in the United States, and this program is not done yet. And that's taken many, many, many years.
Right,
the
right.
Syrians don't have many years. In the meantime, Assad is free to kill his opponents, both the Al-Qaeda-led and the Syrian army, which is less favorable to Al-Qaeda, with all the conventional weapons as long as he wants. And now the U.S. has lost any credibility about doing anything about that. So in reality, and what would induce Assad to turn over all the weapons? After all, he used them once. There were no consequences, in essence. Not one of his palaces was bombed. There was no decapitation strike at his person. Nothing happened. So if I was Assad, and he knows if he is ever deposed, unless he can get on that plane to Switzerland fast, he's dead, like some of the other Middle Eastern dictators. Gaddafi dragged out of the sewer pipe and shot in Libya. So he will fight to the bitter end, and why not retain the chemical weapons? He used them once and got away with it, and presumably he could do it again as many times as he wants. He has nothing to fear from the United States or this administration.
Irv?
Where does that leave us, really? Obama originally said he was going to draw the red line, and then he was going to send in missiles to punish Assad for the use of his chemical weapons. Now where are we at? Assad is not being punished, number one. Number two, he can continue his war, all right? Number three, Putin has said that if he gives up his weapons, we can't go ahead and hit him in any way. So what really has happened here? Assad is in power, Assad is winning, Russia is in power, Russia is winning, and where are we? We're exactly where we started. Before the red line, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. They have neutralized the United States, the power of the United States at this point in time. And if that's where, and I think President Obama is happy that he sort of said, whew, I got myself out of this terrible situation. Maybe I better sort of back off. And when we started this show, Suzanne, I think, mentioned that there hasn't been a lot of news over this last weekend
Yes.
regarding the Syrian situation.
Yeah, what happened to that?
What happened to it? It's been neutralized. And at this point in time, are we the same world power we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago? Are we? I don't think so. Ask yourself the question.
Yeah.
Where are we in compared to Russia in this situation?
Why do you think it's been so hush? In fact, all of us came to the show today, and each of us said the same thing. Last night, I went all over. I went from the cable shows to the regular shows from Channel 2, Channel 5, 7, 9, all over. I could not find anything on Syria. I was even reading I had to find some articles on Syria, but in the back of the newspaper, nothing in the front of the newspaper. I know that the situation in Kenya is taking over right now with the Shabab, right? It's called the Al-Shabaab regime, which is an Al-Qaeda affiliate, which I thought that didn't President Obama said he's already contained all the, the Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda's
on the run.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about Al-Qaeda anymore. My God, we have so many affiliates, but we couldn't find anything in the news or on why. What? How could it vanish so quickly? Here it was. You woke up in the morning, it was on every single day, every single night, and now you can barely find anything about what's going on in Syria. Why? What's going on?
Well, you have to understand that the media is very, very prejudiced towards Obama and President Obama and his regime. As far as I'm concerned, they don't have an open look at anything. Everything they do is slanted one way, and it's slanted against the Republican demands and what's going on. And at this point, I'm very concerned because we're getting right near to the deadline on the budget, and Obama has said he's not going to budge. Well, other Democratic presidents in the past have been able to negotiate deals with Republicans, and I can't see why he isn't.
Mm-hmm. So, do you have anything else to say?
Well, I would say there's no question about the fact that the majority of the media is turning out to be a liberal media, and they have backed Obama and his policies and things. But I think what's happening now is some of them are ending up with egg on their face, and the things that they wanted to do are not happening, and they're hesitating to jump into this thing, so they're looking at other things. They're looking at the attacks at the Christian churches in Pakistan, and they're looking at the attacks at the Christian churches in Egypt, and they're looking at all these other odds and ends. Nairobi, this horrible attack at this mall. Mm-hmm. So they're looking for diversions to get them off of the hook, and this is basically what it's about.
Alan.
I think in the president's worldview, the enemies of the United States are not Iran or Syria or Russia. The enemies of the United States are congressional conservatives and Republicans who don't agree with his program to transform America. The media is much more concerned with transforming America in conjunction with the Obama program. And that's where they'd like their attention focused, because any denial of his just spend more and raise taxes again on the most productive people in the country is part of the program to push grandma off the cliff and let the children starve and then shoot all the puppies.
That's Alan always comes up with a line, doesn't he? Well, going back to something that we said a little earlier, we're talking about democracy. Is democracy for everyone? Look what happened to Israel when we let them, when they allowed to have a democratic vote. They got Hamas. And democracy, apparently, we're always trying to force democracy down our neighbors' throats. Is that the right way to go?
Well, democracy and Islam do not mix. They're different.
Right.
They will never be able to. You'll never have a democratic country under Islam, and that's how it is.
Right. I think that the concept of democracy is foreign to the Islamic political machine, which is a strong leader machine. I mean, that's what they operate on, strong leaders. And if you look at the Islamic countries, they all have strong leaders. They have a dictator. They have a weak president with a strong dictator. Whatever it is, they have something going on. Mm-hmm. Ahmadinejad in Iran, he had a big mouth. He was a snake, but he was the puppet for the Ayatollah. the Ayatollah was telling him what to say and when to say it, and that's what he did. And it's what happens in many of the Islamic countries.
Isn't that what's happening? And I'll let you talk, Erwin. Erwin, is that also what's happening? They finally got a new president in Iran.
Iran.
His name is, give me a name.
Rouhani?
Something like that.
Something like that. Well, we'll get back to it. And all of a sudden, I know that President Obama is going to speak to him, but isn't he going to get maybe the last president had no diplomacy, and this one has more diplomacy, but it's the same thing. He still takes all his demands and his cues from the same person. Am I correct?
President Obama would rather speak to the heads of the state of Iran than speak to the congressional party in the Republicans in the Congress at this point in time. He would rather talk to them than try and make a deal on some of the problems in the United States. What I wanted to say, Sue, to go back just for a moment is, let's look at the history of what's happening in the Middle East. Okay, President Obama came in, he made a big speech in Cairo about democracy, and what's happened in the Middle East since the time that he came in? Okay, we saw it in Libya, Gaddafi fell, all right, what happened in Libya? We had Benghazi, right? It's still a warring place, and it's not friendly to the United States. That happened during the election cycle.
And then we had Egypt.
And then, of course, we had Egypt and
Morsi.
And we had President Morsi.
No,
President.
No, he said Mubarak.
Mubarak, not
He said Mubarak had to go, and who did they elect? They elected the
Muslim
Muslim Brotherhood.
And now he's halfway gone.
Right.
It's all gone.
Or he's gone,
So
or he's
we
been
have
imprisoned, or who knows
Right, we
where
have
he is.
tremendous turmoil in
Yeah.
the Middle East since President Obama is pushing democracy in this neck of the woods. Tremendous turmoil. Now he says the president of Syria has to go. The president of Syria has not started up with our ally Israel for quite some time because he knows that the Israelis will knock him off the map.
Because you don't know, we're talking about the Free Syrian Army, you don't know who they're really made up of. You know, I know they're pushing the Free Syrian Army, but they could be also their Al-Qaeda affiliates. Who knows who's there? When we had Mubarak and we had some of these leaders that we call them dictators, but maybe sometimes, but at least they were friendly toward the United States, and we were able to negotiate, and Israel was able to negotiate with them. Now we're not, we're chopping them up. You know, maybe Assad is not the worst person. I mean, I know, and then again, I know there was chemical weapons, but who knows? Maybe somebody else started the chemical weapons. Maybe it wasn't Assad. Maybe it was somebody, in one of those Al-Qaeda people that did it. We don't know for sure. And I see I'm getting 2 minutes on the show. I'll give you the last word on this.
Well, the last word, I understand this show is about the Syrian situation, but Syria is really a sideshow as a client state of Iran, because the real critical issue in the Middle East that will change the whole dynamic is the Iranian nuclear weapon. And the Iranians have been rolling the United States, Republicans and Democratic administrations, for many, many years. Ahmadinejad was the bad cop, the new guy is the good cop. Obama is so eager to go and please this guy. Meanwhile, the centrifuges continue to spin. And the Iranian nuclear weapon, just like the Syrian chemical weapons, will be a force in being, and they know, the whole world knows, that the United States will not do anything about that, and that will change the whole Mideastern situation.
I know my son lives in Israel, and he did say that they're most concerned about Iran.
Well, I don't think the Israelis will allow Iran to develop the bomb. I think that something may happen, and what's going to happen may throw the whole world into turmoil.
Yeah, I think one last thing I have is the fact that Putin, in one of his recent, in the last few days, speeches, said that the destruction of the weapons in Syria, the weapons of mass destruction, hinge on Israel destroying their nuclear arsenal, which is totally
Never going to
ridiculous.
happen.
So what do you?
Plus, I would like to add that I think President Obama should talk to our best ally in the Middle East is Israel. He should talk more to Israel. He should do it more on an open basis instead of ignoring the president of Israel. and maybe perhaps he should get a little bit more educated on what's going on in the Middle East.
Well, I'm going to be having to wrap the show. First of all, we're not going to we're just analyzing the Syrian situation, but next time I invite you, you're going to be solving it, because I think you are the world leaders, and I think my guys here are the only ones that really can solve the situation. I want to thank you, Alan Minoff, Howard Costner, Bert Oseoff, and Erwin Rosen for your contribution, and it was very valuable because we're trying to educate our viewers here to help them learn really what's really going on. Again, thank you for coming, and I really appreciate your viewpoints.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Suzanne.